Why, hello there, beautiful people who watch me on the internet. So, you may be wondering, Kai, why you got them glasses on? You look absolutely insane. Well, today, y'all, we are going to be talking about the Barbie movie. Yes, today we talk about the Barbie movie, and there were a lot of mixed reviews. There were some people thinking it was an anti-man, misandrous movie, and there were others who were like, wow, this is the most intense emotional journey about womanhood and girlhood I've ever watched. And it was a spectacularly, amazingly, wonderfully made movie. And then there are others who are on the side of, this is a woke movie. It's disgusting. Why are you teaching little girls this? This is a movie about a toy. This should be a children's movie. When it wasn't even advertised as a children's movie in the first place. It's just about a toy. No one said it was for children. But yes, we're going to be talking about the Barbie movie today. And I have a lot to say. I wrote up a whole little essay about it, so I will be reading from this, as always. But let's get right into it. So first off, what even is the Barbie movie about? Especially if you probably only seen trailers or you have not seen the movie yet. You should go see the movie. But the Barbie movie, made in 2023, starring Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie and a wide cast of other well-known celebrities, is about Barbie living the perfect life in Barbie land before all of a sudden feeling not herself. She feels groggy, tired, unlike herself, and she's not able to figure out how she feels, because she's never felt such emotions before. She has to go to the human world and find the little girl that's sad, that's been playing with her to make her happy again, and in Barbie land, and Barbie will be right back to the way it was, perfect and normal again. We go on this grand adventure with Barbie and Ken by her side in the human world to find this little girl, but under the surface we discover a lot of hidden messages, metaphors, and things that can be interpreted in between the lines of the Barbie movie dialogue. Let's dive into the world of Barbie. So I want us to jump right off to when Barbie starts to feel off, and then I will continue to talk about the movie after that point. Her life had been more than perfect every day, all day, forever, literally saying that in the movie, and she's never had to feel any other emotion except for happiness until one day at a dance party. She's dancing at the dream house. Barbie's having her party at her own dream house, and in the middle of a choreographed dance number, she says, verbatim, "You guys ever think about dying?" Which immediately stops the entire party. Every Barbie, every Ken is like, what did you just say? Basically, like, they just all look at her. And they stop and they have shocked expression on their face before Barbie says immediately to correct herself upon seeing the reactions. And she goes, "Dying to dance." And then everyone goes back to dancing and partying and going, woo-hoo, woo-hoo, basically. And everything ramps back up exactly how it was before, like nothing ever happened. She starts to have this flicker in her face and her eyes and just in her expression as she's dancing. Like she's worried, she's upset. She's like, what in the world is going on? Because this isn't her typical. She's always like, just happy, smiling. Every day, perfect, every day, forever. And that's exactly what she's known since the beginning of time. But now, this is just the beginning of how crazy her transformation is going to become. So the next day, she wakes up and feels tired, not herself, groggy, sort of irritable, but she tries to do her normal routine, but things just are not adding up. Things are not going right. Her toast burns, her milk is expired, her hair is messy when she wakes up. I'd also like to talk about a metaphor I believe this is signifying, which I will further elaborate on later. But I think that this is alluding to the fact that when little girls are little, they have no care in the world, every day is fun, no responsibilities. You just have to kind of exist, really. And then one day, everything seems to just change and you're thrust into this world that you've never experienced before. That's Barbie now at this point in the film. what really sets red flags off for Barbie is when she's on the beach, her friends are like, "Hey Barbie," and she's like, "Hi Barbie," and they ask her to come onto the beach and play volleyball or something with them, and she's like, "Okay, yeah," and she you know how Barbie always wears her heels. She gets out of her heels and she goes from the Barbie heel foot stance and goes completely flat foot and falls on her face into the sand on the beach. And she's like, "Oh my god, what just happened?" And she looks at her feet and she's like, "Oh my god, my feet went completely flat." And she goes over to a bench on the beach, and all the other Barbies who are asking her to play are like, "Barbie, what happened?" And she's like, "Guys, my feet." And they're like, "What about your feet? Show us." And she shows them her feet. All the Barbies, even one black Ken behind them, starts gagging because they're like, "Oh my god, your feet went flat like a human." And they all just start gagging. Obviously they're Barbies and they're dolls, so they can't actually throw up, but they all start gagging. And she's alarmed and feeling very awkward about this situation. And after this and a couple other things during the day occur, Barbie goes to visit Weird Barbie, which is basically just a Barbie whose hair is cut off, marker written all over them. Maybe their legs are like messed up a bit because a girl has just played with her Barbie a little bit too long, a little bit too hard too. And she lives in her own house in a mountain in Barbie Land, but not in the main Barbie Land neighborhood. And basically, Barbie wants help understanding what's going on. That's when Barbie is told that she needs to go to the human world, find a little girl who is sad, because the little girl that's sad, her emotions are seeping into Barbie and is making her normal, basically. Because Barbie starts to experience cellulite and getting more tired on the face. That's why she didn't feel okay in the morning. She is changing. And that's because this girl in the human world is sad, and all that sadness from playing with Barbie is seeping into her. So she needs to go to the human world, make this little girl happy again, and everything will be alright. So she thinks. So basically, she takes us when her and Ken go to the real world. When Barbie and Ken make it to the real world, Barbie for the first time feels unsafe. She doesn't feel okay as Ken and Barbie are on their rollerblades. They're going down Venice Beach, and all the men are catcalling her, whistling, and she's literally like, "Why do I not feel okay? Why do I feel a sense of violent intent from these men whistling and yelling and ogling at me?" For the very first time, she feels very unsafe. The two having two wildly different responses in the real world is because also Ken felt like he was being acknowledged more as they were riding down, and he didn't feel unsafe at all. Which was two totally different reactions to the real world, which I think is exactly how it is for women and men in the real world. Which men don't feel intimidated by or feel scared by other men doing that sort of stuff. But women walking down the street, that can mean a lot of things, especially if they try to approach you wanting to go on a date or get your number. Women get killed for saying no. Women get killed for saying things that a man doesn't like. And Ken doesn't feel that way. He's like, "Whoa, everyone's looking at me, everyone's acknowledging me. People are whistling at me. Wow, I feel great." Two wildly different responses. So, with different ways of thinking, presenting yourself, and seeing the world, Ken and Barbie are finally feeling very different responses from the world than they have in Barbie Land. Now, once again, what I believe is another metaphor for when little girls live their life carefree and hopefully without having to be subjected to looks of words of older men. But we do know and understand that some younger girls are not able to live a life stress-free like that, and sometimes girlhood is not the same for every person. However, even when young, sometimes this can happen to young girls. When they grow up, when everything changes, they're looked at differently. Different things are expected of them. Their bodies are focused on in a different light than it ever was before. This is what I believe Barbie is going through for the very first time. During Barbie and Ken's time in the real world, Barbie lets Ken go off and do his own thing. Ken is like, can I like leave? Can I walk around and see what this place looks like? And Barbie is sitting at this train station, eyes closed, like, sure, go off, just don't go off far. And Ken is like, okay. And he trots off. And this is when Ken has his patriarchal, misogynistic awakening. Basically, while Barbie is trying to figure out who this little girl is, Ken discovers what misogyny and the patriarchy is. He becomes this man's man, becoming obsessed with the idea of men ruling the world and horses. Horses becomes a big part of his personality after this discovery. Obviously, this becomes an issue, a big issue, later on, and one of our main evils within the film. Later on, Barbie thinks she's found the little girl who she needs to make happy. Through a vision she has, she's like, oh my god, I found her. I found I know who she is. So later on, they actually quite easily find the school that this girl goes to. And Barbie walks up to her at lunch and tries to convince her that she is Barbie. And this emotional, going through puberty teenager sits there like, girl, be for real. And basically like grills Barbie. Like literally makes Barbie cry and run away, because he's like, oh my god, I'm not like a fascist, I don't know what she's even like, what? And she's bawling, right? She's crying. And while all this is happening, Ken is in the school library grabbing books once again about men and horses. Barbie meanwhile is upset that she can't make the girl happy. While all this is happening, the company Mattel, who makes the Barbies, are now made aware of this incident, because this hasn't happened in 10 years since another variation of Barbie escaped, but that was easily covered up since it wasn't Barbie. But now that this is Barbie, it is a very big deal, and it's a very big issue for Mattel. The CEO in this film, Will Ferrell, and his board of executives and one low-level employee go out to try and find Barbie and Ken and take them back to Barbie Land. Now, Barbie and Ken are still at the school. The Mattel security very easily actually finds Barbie, and they're like, hello, Miss Barbie, can you please come with us? We need to take you back to the Mattel building. And Barbie is happy about this. She's like, oh my god, Mattel? I need to talk to the leader, like your CEO, so that I can get this figured out. She thinks that if she talks to Mattel, they can fix this whole thing. And but by this point, Barbie has already gone through a mountain of emotions that she has never experienced before, and she never even knew existed aside from happiness and excitement. And after she's taken to the Mattel building, she meets the CEO, and then they try to get her back into a large human-sized Barbie box. But Barbie doesn't want to. She's extremely hesitant. She doesn't understand why she's very hesitant, but she just knows, I don't want to go into that box. And while all this is happening and she's at the Mattel building, Ken had let Barbie get whisked away. He literally watched her get escorted into the car while talking to his mother and daughter. And he was talking to the lady like, oh my god, what do I do? Do I let Barbie go? Do I go with her? And the lady thinks that Ken is absolutely crazy, because he is a real man right now. He's just a life-size Ken doll. And she's like, yeah, just nodding along, being like, this dude is really crazy. And then as soon as Ken leaves, she's like, well, let's go with her daughter. And but after this, after a little bit of thinking and talking to this random lady, he thinks that he should go back to Barbie Land and share all his knowledge and bring it back to Barbie Land and bring it back to Barbie Land to tell all the Kens about manpower and the patriarchy. He makes it back to Barbie Land, and now it's causing a lot of issues. But back in the human world, Barbie is now being chased by the Mattel executive board members and that one low-level employee. So after this whole montage of being chased and ran and all that and running and all that stuff, she's saved by two girls, a mother and daughter. The daughter actually being the girl Barbie tried to convince that she was Barbie. The mother being a Mattel desk secretary for the executive board members and the official level of the Mattel building. During a fun chase scene between those three and the Mattel employees, we discover that the girl who Barbie was supposed to come for was actually not the daughter, but the mother. And they have like this brain mind thing, and the daughter is like, are y'all, what are y'all doing? And they're like, nothing. And yeah, so then we figure out that this little girl wasn't a little girl, at least not outwardly, and it was actually the mother this whole time. So now the mother is like, okay, I really have to protect Barbie now. The mother had been sad, creating photos of cellulite, being depressed, etc. And she works for Mattel, so obviously she loves Barbie. She literally works for the company who makes them. So this sets up the topic for having, and I think that this sets up the topic for kind of having your inner child that you want to heal and that you want to make proud and do all the accomplishments that you thought that little girl would do once she gets to a certain age. Like, but through all life struggles, strife, and different kinds of just suffering that you kind of go through being a woman and an adult in the kind of society that we have, that always finds a way to kind of pick women apart by piece, no matter what they do, because everything for some reason is wrong, and no matter what you do, you really can't get past it. So after Barbie and the mom and daughter have avoided the Mattel employees, Barbie believes that what will fix everything is to actually bring the mother back to Barbie Land. And she's like, if I bring you back, everything will magically fix itself. So she brings the daughter along as well. And the daughter herself has always been having issues lately, showing affection towards her mother as she starts to grow up. And as she started to grow up, and this has caused distance between her and her mother. I found this subplot to be actually quite touching, because at the end of the film, the daughter loves on her mother a little more, and also seems to almost find a newfound connection and respect for her mother that she's either lost from when she was little or didn't have much of as she grew up. The two reconcile their relationship and bond. It tells a lot it was a lot only for it to be a subplot, really. Women and mothers go through so much and sacrifice a lot having children and raising children during motherhood, that their children and their daughters seem to grow up and grow this resentment or feeling of shame towards their mothers, believing that their mothers are weak because of the struggles they face without really understanding the deeper underlining root causes of the different stressors and stuff that their mothers go through. Adventure with Barbie, the mother and daughter are able to understand each other, and the daughter is finally able to understand her mother for the strong woman that she actually is. Understanding why her mother is kind of understanding that her mother is struggling. She might not know the actual root causes yet, but she understands how it is affecting her. But back to the movie and the main plot. The three arrive to Barbie Land, and Barbie is very excited to show the two everything, but something has very obviously changed. What is it, you may be asking? Well, Ryan Gosling's Ken has taught all the other Kens how men rule the human world and that they should have the same power in Barbie Land and have brainwashed every Barbie in Barbie Land to basically be subservient to them and be at their every whim. Barbie is surprised by this and tries to talk to Ken, only to be shot down very quickly by him. Ken has always felt absolutely rejected by Barbie at every turn, and his feelings have never been reciprocated for her. This has caused him to fall into this hole, bringing every other Ken with him and turning Barbie Land into Kendom. The Barbies have fallen victim into only wanting to please the Kens, being pretty for the Kens, completely abandoning their jobs and their awesome roles of the different Barbies for only caring for the Kens, saying they love doing it. Now, I won't try to say much about how Ken feels. I'm only going to really be saying what I think about it through the lens of how I watched the movie and how I analyzed it. But basically, Ken feeling this rejection is a metaphor, I believe, for when boys, just like girls, grow up without a care in the world. However, when they grow up, start having feelings for girls, only to be rejected and maybe never having certain feelings reciprocated, and maybe even if a girl never said it to their face, never saying, "I don't like you back," or "I'm not interested to you" to their face, they feel it to be that way without words, with being friend-zoned too many times. Slowly boils into a deep resentment for women in society and how they've been treated. I think this is exactly how Ken is feeling. Barbie is shot down and absolutely devastated that all the Barbies have left their wonderful posts as the heads of Barbie Land, and that the Kens have completely changed their attitudes, just like how the men in the real world are. The women, the mother and daughter, now help Barbie in this grand plan to bring back Barbie Land. So basically, they hatch this plan. The mother does this really, really cool, really empowering speech. I might put the clip somewhere.
But always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged, so find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into nonsense so that people will like us. And if all of that is also true for adults, just representing.
But she does this speech and they're like, we have to figure something out to get all the Barbies back to the mindset they were before. So basically they have this plan where they distract the Kens. They use the Barbies that have not been brainwashed, and they go one by one, taking the Barbies away from their Kens, distracting them, and then they bring the Barbies back to their original mindset with the mother, giving them a really quick pep talk, and then snaps them right back into the mindset that they were before they were brainwashed by the Kens. And then as they recruited more Barbies, they used those Barbies to help distract other Kens. And after that, after they had all the Barbies unbrainwashed, they then did plan number 2, where they basically make all the Kens think that they still have power over them and that they're still brainwashed and all that different kinds of stuff, which culminates into this scene where Ryan Gosling is singing to Margot Robbie in like the funniest. My phone fell. Anyways, in the funniest way possible, and all the other Kens join in and sing to their Barbies as well. But then the Barbies, they're like, can you wait 1 second? And then they start switching, going to other Kens. And that makes the other Kens upset at another Ken, because they're like, why is my Barbie going over to that Ken? Why is my Barbie going over to that Ken? And it makes them upset. So then all the Kens basically agree, we need to go to war with each other and fight each other, basically. The Kens have also made a plan to do a vote the very next day, in 48 hours in that movie's time span, in order to change the Barbie constitution, or in order to make a Ken constitution that would entirely change the Barbie Land dynamic. After all that, A very comical kin-on-kin war happens on the beach, along with multiple musical numbers that are honestly kind of good. We also gather a deeper look into what Ken is feeling. He feels dejected and rejected again and again, like he's nothing without Barbie, like he has no place outside of Barbie. And the name is Barbie and Ken. He's always second place, and he's never a priority. He doesn't know how or why he is just Ken, and Barbie is this idyllic figurehead. She just is, and has always been that way, in whatever form Barbie has taken over the years. Even in the official movie poster, the quote on it says, "She's everything. He's just Ken." Even putting more of a nail into the coffin about this narrative that the movie is giving Ken, and this motivation that they're giving Ken. Now, I'll talk about this again later, but I know people may start to hate on this movie for, as I said earlier, being man-hating, misandrous, and it's not that. It's not a misandrous, man-hating movie. It's simply showing what women go through the lens of Ken. They change the dynamic. That's how Barbie World is. They simply were giving a look, a glimpse into how women are treated by men by switching the roles and putting it in through the lens of Ken. And some people are losing that point, not getting it, but there are people who know, so I'm not gonna be upset about that. Basically, Ken is treated simply as an accessory to Barbie, an attachment, something to be used for prop and to have around, which is cool and all, but not to hold any real connection or value to. Ken's value is only ever seen through his looks and his association with Barbie. That's how women are treated and seen in society, as an accessory to men. Something to have on their arm when they want them, a plaything, and something that isn't of much importance but is around when you need them. Something to look pretty, something to look at. The film seems to be centered around Barbie, but it also gives a look into Ken's perspective of life in Barbie Land. After the whole kin-on-kin war happens, this distracts them long enough to allow the Barbies who have been unbrainwashed to go to the Capitol at the head of Barbie Land and do their own vote to continue to keep the Barbie Land Constitution, and is successful, and the Kens are defeated basically, and the Barbies very quickly take back their homes, and the Kens seemingly make up after their fight and basically mini musical, and finally understand each other. And during all that, they go back to the neighborhood and realize that the Barbies are back and have taken back their homes and their bodily autonomy. The Barbies have reclaimed Barbie Land, but when Ken and Barbie had their final talk, it bothered me almost, because it still held that impact about these cars, man, but it still held that impact of something really deep. Basically, Ken took over Barbie Land, taking everything from Barbie and what they had built and upkept, and ruined it. Even then, in the end, Barbie was the one to apologize, and Ken never apologized for his misdeeds. He never told Barbie he was sorry for ruining everything. What he said to her, and for not feeling an ounce of regret for his actions when he was trying to turn Barbie Land into Kingdom. He never apologized and never said sorry. He never apologized for a single thing. Barbie's still apologizing to Ken for being the unattached one, never liking him back, and had to encourage him herself. And Ken never did the same for her. Ken made her question partially her self-worth, and even in the end, she was still responsible for being Ken's emotional support, even when Ken was not hers. That rubbed me the absolute wrong way. Because Barbie did nothing wrong. She can't do anything about the fact that she never really liked Ken back. She didn't like him, and she just didn't have those feelings for him. There was really nothing that she could do about that, unless she just forced herself to try to like him. But it brings me to talk about how other girls and women, when a boy likes, or man or boy likes them, and they may not like them back, and a man constantly pushes and pushes and pushes, eventually growing a resentment towards the woman or girl for how she feels, like they feel entitled to women and that they should just like them out of thin air. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't sad that Barbie never liked Ken back, because I mean, anyone who's had a crush on anyone in the span of humanity, it feels horrible when the person that you like does not like you back, and you can tell it, or is just plain in your face, or maybe they get with somebody else while you have a very clear crush on them. Obviously, it does not feel nice, but it happens to everyone. Ken always tries to be the best he could for Barbie, but Barbie just wasn't into him like that, and honestly, Ken should have just understood that. Barbie, in the end, realizes she wants to be human because she doesn't feel that being Barbie fits her anymore. And the creator of Barbie herself helps her in this final discovery, to which, after a beautiful montage of real women, she finds herself and feels for the very first time. We even hear her heartbeat for the very first time. Then the ending of the film, we cut to Barbie in a car with a mother and daughter who helped her, and they took her to her very first gynecologist appointment. And the movie ends on that funny, silly note. Now, after all of this, the messages and small moments within the movie that evoke the most emotion are so strong when you really think about them. How both Barbie and Ken represent how boys and girls, through the roles being switched in Barbie land to have men try to understand or get a glimpse into how women are treated, grow up in society and at first don't see the flaws of the world that they grow up in, but become the very things that's wrong with society or fall into the same hole that everyone else falls into at some point. How Barbie's creator made Barbie as a tribute to her own daughter, Barbara, wanting to empower her daughter and give her a nice toy to play with. Her quote saying, "Mothers must stand still so their daughters can look back and see how far they've come." It makes me tear up, honestly, when I think about it, because it really makes people just reevaluate things as a girl and a woman, and thinking back to the relationship that one may have with their mother. It's powerful. Barbie falling into the hole of trying to conform to what she believes she has to be, which is perfect and absolutely no flaws, but realizes that her flaws are what make her beautiful and that it's okay to have them. How when Barbie first came to the real world, seeing an old lady at the bus stop with no hesitation called her beautiful. The innocent smile, immediately knowing that the older woman was beautiful, I almost felt how Barbie stared at her was Barbie looking at herself, but older and loving herself, and the fact that growing old is a beautiful thing. Enjoy it. Barbie feeling or being unsafe around men for the very first time and not being able to describe or interpret her own feelings and emotions that welled up in her because of it is a total shock, and it being to her a total shock. never having been ogled at, talked about, catcalled, or even touched in the way that she was because a man slapped her on the butt when she first got to the real world, which got her arrested, her and Ken arrested, but without her consent. And at one point, her and Ken, when they first make it to the real world, there's so many little moments, lines, and actions, and even facial expressions that you could so deeply dissect from this film. It's really honestly insane. Barbie was never even marketed as a children's film. It was just marketed as being a fun, silly, girly pop kind of movie with pink everything and being cute. And that's what people thought they were walking into when they first went to this film, but they walked out honestly being changed. All women and girls felt this movie to the core with this message and have been going through it ever since this movie came out. The movie touched a lot of people, and it shows by the amount of internet output and outcry that this film has created and received, the amount of people who are able to relate so deeply to this film, and I find it absolutely beautiful and healing that so many people and so many of us got to experience this kind of movie together. It wasn't a cringy film thrown together that didn't sell the theme of the movie well. It was a very well-crafted film that allowed us to see the seriousness, comedy, and complexity shine in this film, all at the same time. Now, this is a very big thing that I noticed within the film. I think that, yes, this movie is centered around Barbie, but I think that this was both Ken and Barbie's story of self-discovery. Let me elaborate on that. Now, I will not be overshadowing the fact that this movie is about girlhood and womanhood and growing up in a patriarchal society that wants absolute perfection and why flaws are frowned upon. However, this is not just Barbie's story. Yes, the movie is called Barbie, but both Barbie and Ken, respectively, find themselves in this film and go through their own journeys of self-discovery. Barbie going through and realizing what real womanhood is and why she doesn't want to be perfect anymore and live in Barbie land anymore because it doesn't fulfill her anymore like she thought it did. After realizing that she wants to have real, raw, beautiful experiences in the real world where she can feel, be herself, and discover herself more and find herself in an even deeper way, she leaves Barbie Land for something more and something more meaningful to her, realizing that her role as Barbie in Barbie Land doesn't fit her anymore, and she wants to be what doesn't want to be what she's always been. She wants to expand herself in ways she's never even knew existed. Then on the other hand, Ken, he did stay in Barbie Land, but through falling down the pit of misogyny, almost destroying the foundation of Barbie Land, feeling resentment towards the fact that Barbie never liked him back, and in Barbie and Ken's final conversation after discovering that he's always been in Barbie's shadow, and he feels he's not his own person and has never been. He's only ever been Barbie's Ken, not just Ken. Stand alone and having something of his own. He's only ever been attached to Barbie's name, and that's why he's even relevant in the first place. After a talk with Barbie, he realizes he doesn't want to be in Barbie's shadow, and that's not his role anymore. It's never have to be his role, and that him and Barbie have never really had to conform to this, but the standards that Barbie Land had made them that way. To never stray away from this very narrow line of living, which to them now was not really living at all. Ken finds himself, and all the other Kens too find themselves and realize that they can be their own standalone individuals and be themselves. The two of them went through their own journeys. This movie wasn't an anti-man hating propaganda film. Both characters had very meaningful stories to tell on both sides of the coin, but for the same reason: to find themselves and who they truly are meant to be in their own respective ways. Through this film, we see that the patriarchy tears down both sides, men and women. It not only does tear down women in the worst ways sometimes, it also strips men almost completely of emotional vulnerability and validity. It disconnects men from themselves and their feelings, telling them set rules they're supposed to feel, act, say, and do around women and how they're supposed to act in everyday life. This film was made for everyone, to show and say that with true understanding and respect for one another, a bridge can be built, and we don't have to burn as many bridges as we could be building with each other. Men and women both get abused by the society we've created and have been raised in, a society that truly doesn't have the best well-being for anybody. Now guys, that is honestly the end of my analysis. That's what I felt and thought about this movie, really. But I do want to talk about specific songs. That might be a shorter video, but this video is already literally about to be 40 minutes long with this outro, so I'm not going to talk about the music in this video. But if you guys want me to talk about the music within this movie and the different songs that I thought was most important to the plot, and kind of dig deeper into the lyrics of these songs that I thought were really good, let me give you a sneak peek. I was wanting to talk about Dance the Night Away by Dua Lipa, Man I Am by Sam Smith, Pink by Lizzo, What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish, and I'm Just Kin, sang by Ryan Gosling. And I wanted to just break down those songs and their meanings and how they connect to the movie and the certain parts of the movie that they're played in. And I thought that would be a really good topic. I was gonna add this to the video if it wasn't so long, but it's literally, we're like, in a couple seconds, we're gonna literally be at the 40-minute mark. I don't want to talk for any longer than I have to, but that was my full analysis of the Barbie movie. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you guys want more analysis videos like this. I really liked going through everything and really rethinking after I watched the Barbie movie all the motifs, metaphors, illusions, and all that different stuff that was in this film, and all the messages that this movie had that weren't explicitly shown or said or expressed, and that you just kind of had to interpret on your own. I really like this. So if you guys like this movie breakdown and analysis, tell me if y'all want more. Maybe I'll watch Oppenheimer and I'll do an analysis on Oppenheimer. Who knows? But yeah. Please like, comment, subscribe, share your cat, dog, gerbil, cat, mom, and all your fish and all the ants outside in your yard, because that would get me a lot of views if you shared it with every single ant in your yard. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
I don't think I had an ending. That was always the point. I created you so you wouldn't have an ending. It's you.
Come on, let me go find me a pen. Look where it led. Now I'ma put it to bed. She a Barbie bitch with her Barbie click. I keep dragging her so she bald a bit. And I see the bread, I want all of it. And I want the green, so I all of it. And I throw it back so he lose. Taking you just like the way I